In recent weeks, unprecedented events have been unfolding in Poland. The President of the Constitutional Court has filed a report suspecting crimes, including the forceful removal and threats against constitutional state bodies, as well as coup d'état carried out by an organized criminal group. This group consists of the Speaker of the Polish Sejm, the Speaker of the Senate, Prime Minister Donald Tusk, Minister of Justice Adam Bodnar, members of Parliament from the ruling coalition, as well as other high-ranking officials and state functionaries. The investigation on this matter was initiated by the Deputy Prosecutor General, Prosecutor Michał Ostrowski, who remains independent of the current government. Initially, Prime Minister Tusk attempted to ridicule the matter, commenting on it while playing ping-pong. However, he soon realized the gravity of the situation when he saw that the prosecutor was conducting the investigation dynamically and with full responsibility. In response, Minister of Justice himself, one of the main figures mentioned in the notification, suspended the prosecutor and took the case away from him. Well, such behavior is in effect a tacit admission of guilt. But what exactly does the Constitutional Court President's notification concern? It pertains to a series of blatant legal violations committed by highest state officials since the Liberal coalition took power over a year ago in Poland. The systematic erosion of the rule of law and the undermining of democratic decisions made by the Polish people have reached such an extent that Poland can now be described as a lawless state and indeed as a country undergoing a creeping constitutional coup. Well, the government's first act of lawlessness was the illegal and forceful, in the fullest sense of the word, seizure of public media. Just a week after taking office in December 2023, the Minister of Culture attempted, without any legal basis, to impose new management. When that failed due to public resistance and the efficient actions of the independent prosecution, he orchestrated a sham liquidation of public media, allowing hand-picked liquidators to assume control of state broadcasters. Both actions flagrantly violated statutory law and interim measures issued by the Constitutional Court, which explicitly forbade the minister from interfering with public media until a final judgment was rendered. This ruling was blatantly ignored as the government operated on the simple premise that might makes right. Today, public media in liquidation have been transformed into the most vile propaganda machine of the liberal government. The government's second unlawful act was the forceful takeover of the National Prosecutor's Office, followed by purges in regional prosecutorial units. In blatant violation of statutory law, the Minister of Justice and the Prime Minister illegally removed the independent, legally appointed national prosecutor from his position. Then they proceeded, once again in breach of the statutory regulations, to install a submissive replacement, bypassing the president's legally mandated role in the process. Their objective was twofold. to shut down criminal cases inconvenient for the political camp, while at the same time weaponizing law enforcement to persecute the opposition. These actions violated both the interim measures and the final judgment of the Constitutional Court. The Supreme Court also ruled them illegal. Yet Tusk's administration continues to ignore court rulings with impunity. After the prosecution, the next target was the courts. The Minister of Justice, contrary to the law, shortened the terms of nearly all presidents of appellate and district courts in Poland, replacing them with judges submissive to government expectations. These actions also violated the interim measures and final judgments of the Constitutional Court. The purges particularly affected courts in Warsaw, where key criminal cases and decisions on detentions, including those concerning opposition politicians, are made. In several such political cases, there have already been blatant manipulations of judicial panels. Going further, government politicians are questioning the status of the National Council of the Judiciary, the constitutional body responsible for reviewing judicial candidates appointed by the president as judges. Consequently, the authorities are undermining the status of judges nominated or promoted after the 2017 reforms, including Supreme Court judges. The legality of the Supreme Court's extraordinary control and public affairs chamber is being questioned, as it rules on disputes regarding, for example, subsidies for political parties. A Supreme Court ruling on subsidies, which was favorable to a right-wing party, is being blatantly disregarded by authorities controlled by the ruling coalition's politicians. This amounts to a de facto attempt to eliminate Poland's largest opposition party, Law and Justice. Equally alarming is the fact that this very chamber of the Supreme Court is responsible for determining the validity of elections, including the upcoming presidential elections. The ruling coalition has already begun laying the groundwork to contest the presidential election results, should they prove unfavorable. So they are preparing for the Romanian scenario. The government does not publish constitutional court rulings, and the parliament, through the budget law, deprives the Constitutional Court and the National Council of the Judiciary of a significant portion of their financial resources, effectively preventing them from functioning. Well, these are just a few examples of the unlawful criminal actions of Tusk's ministers and Tusk himself. And they became the subject of an investigation by an independent prosecutor who was quickly removed from the case. All of this clearly indicates that Poland is currently experiencing a creeping coup d'état, an illegal undermining of decisions and the functioning of constitutional state organs. All this is accompanied by political persecution of opposition politicians using the full state apparatus and media attacks from dominant liberal outlets. I too have become a victim of this persecution, as a result of which I became the first Polish politician and parliamentarian since 1989 to be granted political asylum in another country, in the Republic of Hungary. Purges in the judiciary, manipulation of judicial panels, ignoring rulings of the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court. All of this has led to a situation where there is no real access to a fair and impartial judiciary, especially for opposition politicians. For all these acts, which are currently under investigation, long-term prison sentences, including life imprisonment, are at stake for the Prime Minister Tusk, the Minister of Justice, and other high-ranking state officials. They have reasons to be afraid, and the fact that they are so hastily trying to sweep the case under the rug only proves how dangerous it is for them. But before the case was taken from him, the prosecutor leading the investigation had already managed to interrogate the President of the Constitutional Court. Also the first President of the Supreme Court, the Chairwoman of the National Council of the Judiciary, the head of the National Media Council, the last legally appointed president of the public television, and many other high-ranking state officials. All of these key witnesses' testimonies remain in the case files. And the statute of limitations will not expire for several decades. So, the fact is that Poland is currently experiencing political persecution and the destruction of the rule of law on a scale unprecedented since the fall of communism in 1989. But no government lasts forever. Sooner or later, Tusk's liberal administration will also have to step down. And this entire criminal group that has committed these unlawful acts, even if they manage to bury the case for now, certainly cannot sleep peacefully.